You won't be missing any basketball because it's election night and there are no games per NBA rules. So you know what? We're out here working. It's going to be a great project. Check out the trailer on our Twitter page. But you know what? We got a special guest, and I think oftentimes one thing that I have learned in this content creating business game endeavor is that a lot of folks are territorial. You know, a lot of folks have an attitude that, and we're not gonna name names, but a lot of folks have the attitude that, hey, I don't want to collab. I don't want to see you win because if I see you win, then that's I'm taking an L, or hey, you got less followers than me, so you're not even worth my time. But not this brother at all. He is someone that I could say I respect, I admire, not just because of the content he puts out, but his professionalism, but also of how gracious he is as a person. And so I have a lot of admiration for him, and I'm so thankful that we're here to have a conversation on our podcast. And um, he's someone that, and I say this respectfully, that when I see what he's doing, I'm like, okay, like that's a route to take. And it's not about pickpocketing or cherry picking. It's more so that you know what, you can have profession. You can find folks to be professionally inspiring. And I'm not kissing his ass. It sounds like it, but you know what? I got a shitload of respect for him. Now he has a lot of absurd food takes, and just to bring him down to earth, he believes pickles and peanut butter is a good thing. But you know what? I
There's a
respect.
story behind that, though, by the
Oh,
way.
okay, we're gonna get there, please. And let's start off with that story. Well, we got the one and only Chris from Hoop Spaces. Chris, what's up, brother? How are you doing today? We got lots to talk about. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, what's up, Rebel? What's up, Tony? I'm happy to be here on MOTG. I'm happy to be able to come up here and before episode 10, before you're in the double digits. Like I told Tony like, hey, I'm definitely down for it, but my schedule is pretty hectic. So like, really, I only have a certain window. So I'm sorry it took so long, but I'm ecstatic to be here because I got to give you guys credit to make a documentary regarding one of the greatest players who ever played the game on your own dime, on your own time. Like that's exactly what inspires me. So like that's real dope. So I do hope your listeners enjoy it. I know I'm gonna check it out. Maybe not on November 7th, but likely during the holiday break around Thanksgiving.
We appreciate that, man. And yeah, you know what? Like the documentary, we're gonna get into that in a little bit because big part of our conversation later on in this recording is about fan created media. So I'm just so there's so many questions to ask you. I guess let's just get it out in the open, man. Peanut butter and pickles, man. What's the story behind that?
All right, so NBA players are they're very notorious for their food likes, right? And when you are a rookie, you have a vet. It's hazing. Like it is. It's not as negative as what a lot of people might think of hazing in terms of like recent college stuff, right? But it's just good natured. Hey, pay your dues type thing. And one of them for a rookie player, I'm not going to name, was the requirement to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But you had to make it the right way, but his vet wouldn't tell him the right way. So every day, this Brooke was making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in different fashions possible that he could think of. He asked every other player, like, who is it? Like, what does he want? And then in the end, it ended up becoming a peanut butter and pickle sandwich.
Wow, that's um that's crazy. That's I don't even know how to. Wow. Feel
Yeah.
sorry for that rook. Feel sorry for that
I
rook.
I think it took him about 5 months to find out that it was peanut butter and pickles. But then when once he found that it was peanut butter and pickles, like he was
That's
accepted.
that's
Yeah.
that's a damn shame. That's a damn shame.
Why?
Um,
It slaps, man. You got to try it.
man, that's you're the person that has a violent relationship with pancakes, and you telling me that I need to
It's
try
not violent. It's not like it's
because
actually the opposite of violent. I have zero problem with pancakes. I actually affirm the truth in pancakes and that they're merely just loose floppy bread. That's it.
and for folks who don't know, and anyone that's listening to this in the morning, do you want to tell the people what you refer to cereal, breakfast cereal as?
Oh yeah, it's dry human pet food.
All right. Yeah. There goes our Captain Crunch sponsorship. Um,
People are like, I thought you guys talk Lakers and basketball. Why are we talking about peanut
oh,
butter and
we talk
pickles
about
now?
all types of shit in here. But you know what? But look, we're going to get to Lakers talk in a minute. We are recording this Sunday, September 3rd. It is Labor Day weekend. You guys will get this on Tuesday. But here's the thing. Today has been a very weird day. Something happened that we don't see often. Team USA lost an international game. We lost a game 104 to 110. And even though there's been a lot of folks to say that he should not have even made the team, everyone seemed to be blaming this loss on Austin Reaves. Austin Reaves. Tony, uh, are you able to tell us who Austin Reaves is?
Oh yeah, he's from Arkansas, the bane of existence of many Laker haters. But uh, no, I am not able to just insert that clip, but I'll probably do it post edit. So
Yeah, let's do that in
yeah,
post edit. But just in case you
yeah,
guys don't know, Austin Reaves is him. Okay, he is him. We know it. And yes, and if you don't know, we will tell you Austin Reaves is him. For some reason,
Yeah,
the world.
Lithuania knew Austin Reaves was him too.
Hey, yes, and you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned that because you know what Lithuania did. They said the coach said, "Hey, who we need to focus on," and they pointed to Austin Reeves' picture and said him. That's exactly what they did. Tony,
Yeah, they cooked him
what did?
too.
Yeah, what did? Yeah, he got cooked. He got cooked. It's okay. Maybe it might add some color to his skin because sometimes he looks a little pale. Tony, what was this? What was the stats like? It was bad all around.
it was bad all around. For him, he had 13 minutes of play, only one out of four, of two from three, zero rebounds, zero assists, and 7 points, and
Yeah,
fouled out. So there's
yeah.
that too. So oh, and by the way, like just because I love how in the same context of the discussion that Austin Reeves had a horrible game. Um, just a fun fact, like how many rebounds did Triple J had in the last
Defense
6 quarters?
reigning defensive player of the year, Mr. 3 points.
I mean, yo, like there's okay. Austin Reeves was a whole. He was cooked. There's no denying it. There's no defense to it. Like we saw it, and we're probably gonna have a replay on playback just to see the live cooking. But like, man, there's so many holes on that team. Like it was not like the only person who showed up was Ant, and
Well,
yeah, it
that's not
was.
true. That's Pat.
Well, Brunson showed up too, which
Oh my, oh my.
Brandon Ingram had a good game off the bench finally. But
Oh yeah, I forgot about Ingram. He
the
he, he did, yeah.
so the biggest issue that I have with the FIBA World Cup plays is that I think that a lot of players just they
And
they
Bridges too.
they are entering a new transition phase, right? And
mhm.
and the problem that we are having is that most fans don't really understand what that means. Like the
Thank you.
United States was never going to send its A team to the FIBA World Cup because the Olympics are right around the corner. So, like, if they were to send their absolute A team in FIBA and then have them play an entire season, then an entire playoffs, and then put them, in there for the Olympics, like you're talking about 2 to 3 years of continuous basketball play. And you add in the in-season tournament and travel, like that is a huge physical toll on a professional athlete, regardless of, the athlete ability. Like these are the best athletes in the world. Your body is still going to run down. Also, like they are in a complete transition. This isn't just like changing of the era for players. The entire administrative apparatus of Team USA basketball has been going through an upgrade or a renewal or a redesign or a refit, however you want to say it, for the last few years now. So like we are in a build that has been sat down and orchestrated on paper multiple times. And when you look at it, yes, we lost to Lithuania. However, we lost giving up almost 20 points in the first quarter, coming all the way back just to lose by 6 because Steve Kerr kept Austin Reaves and REAVESanity out there for 5 minutes too long. It's like really, and Triple J. Like Lithuania was able to punk him and get him into foul trouble super quick. So like once that happened, you had 0 rim pressure, you had 0 defensive switching and recovery on the perimeter, and it was it. Like you can have bad games, and what happens when you put a coach like Steve Kerr in this position, much like Doc Rivers, is he's going to put the people out there that he trusts for whatever reason, but then he'll never second guess until it's usually too late. And then, like this morning, it was too late when he finally realized it. And then by the time he made the right moves, USA was out of time.
Yeah,
If we had 2 more
I
minutes,
agree.
we'd probably win that game.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And you just said something about to get on, but the thing about going off of what you just said, the thing about USA is that yeah, because of COVID, things got pushed back. Even if you want to go back to the previous Summer Olympics, that happened a year later. So it's it's a very unique time. Also, Grant Hill took over. We have a new coach. It's no longer Coach Pop, Steve Kerr. You're figuring out what's working, what doesn't work. And yeah, and with this squad that's in the Philippines right now, maybe two people from the squad. I don't think more than 3 will actually make the Olympic team next year.
Oh no,
So
I could see 6 or 7.
6 or 7. Okay, I see
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards. I see, yeah, I see Anthony Edwards. I see Austin Reaves. And yes, there is a bias, but you know what? We watched the Olympic 2008 game. Michael Redd was on the team. You know, what was it? I think it was either 2010, 2008 or 2012 team that you had Tayshaun Prince. You're gonna need a couple utility guys, some team players. So I don't think Brandon Ingram's going to make the squad. Um,
Oh,
I think
I
the
mean, I can see Brunson, Jackson Jr., Edwards, Bridges, Halliburton, Boncaro.
Halliburton, yes.
The ones that I just named are likely on the team. Ones that could play their way with a good NBA season and finishing out strong with the gold medal here would likely
Mhm.
be Brandon Ingram and likely Walker Kessler. So like a couple of these guys who are on here for the long haul, right? And one of the reasons why the NBA and Team USA view this as the right move is that the reason why the international teams seemingly have jumped up in competition is that they are able to grow and build their national team for a good 12 to 15 year stretch, whereas the NBA they really have to rely on the schedule of the players, right? So you lose a little bit of the camaraderie and the chemistry long term, and we've always been able to out athlete and out skill everybody. They now realize we can no longer do that. You have Jokic, you have Luka, you have Giannis, you have these players who are now equal to and better than a lot of NBA players. So this is a long-term plan. I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't like the first foray into the actual change of how the U.S. will handle basketball in the future permanently.
Well,
Like it's
I
real big stuff.
so okay, so I agree with you about the long-term approach. I think a lot of the players that we're seeing on the FIBA team now, they're part of that long-term approach where I would say that okay, I wouldn't be surprised if 70% of these players are on the team in 28. Now, Brandon Ingram, I'll disagree with you here. I think when he made, and I spoke about this earlier in the Twitter space, I think when he was making the comment about where he was expressing frustration, even though the team was winning, I think it was just like, okay, to me, that's not a good thing because Team USA has always been about buying in. Now, I know Anthony Edwards made a similar comment where he was like, when Steve Kerr told him, yeah, Dwayne Wade started off, he was on the bench, he didn't start because he was behind Kobe. And Anthony Edwards said, oh, well, we don't have a Kobe on the squad. Anthony Edwards said you can argue that he's the best player on this Team USA thing. Brandon Ingram, for him to express frustration to the press, but also he hasn't played that well. I think that's not a good look. And then you think, well, how frustrating is he going to be if LeBron, Steph, Anthony Davis, maybe
No,
even Kevin Durant?
I get what you're saying. I would disagree. Um, you go from being the man to being a bench player is already hard enough, right? It's a different environment, it's a different type of play. But more importantly, like Brandon Ingram's game is a rhythm game. And he has not been able to look or feel really comfortable in many of these games, really, in terms of how he's getting into his flow. In fact, this was probably his best game because we were down so much. Kerr realized like there's no point in not playing everybody, right? Like it could have been different. It could have been Mike Krzyzewski, and Krzyzewski could have kept the same 8 people out there, right? But enter Brandon Ingram, and then when you saw him have extended time, you saw him get into his game, and he was able to actually manipulate the Lithuanian defense based on his range, his size, and his ability to attack the high mid range. Which is why I was actually kind of surprised, like that Kerr didn't put Ingram and Mikal Bridges in and let them play, a 2-man game, because that's actually what they really excelled in, and it's what Lithuania was giving up. Which is again why I would disagree. The outset of a healthy team is having players feeling empowered enough to actually vent their frustrations in a constructive manner. And I don't see anything that Brandon Ingram said, the way he said it, or the way he appeared when he said it, that really shows anybody's like being super disgruntled and upset. He's just venting his normal frustrations. And if you look at, how the Warriors are run and how the Heat are run, that they get a lot of levity and wiggle room throughout the season. So like this is really Kerr and Eric Spoelstra, who's number 2, really allowing their players to express who they are freely. And I'm 100% behind that.
That's true. That is very true because I know because of this new regime, they're also like creating a culture. So I'm with you there. You did say something that and it's been a topic of conversation we've been having. PGM has been having online because we've been pissing some people off. So you said REAVESanity. Why are you like the rest of the NBA fan base and hate Austin Reaves? Like what?
I don't. Like that's the problem. Is I don't hate Austin Reaves. I hate the fans who are making Austin Reaves into something he is not. Let the man develop his professional game. How many games in the NBA has he played? How many international games has he played?
I think you're asking the wrong questions, though. I think you're asking the wrong questions. It's
No,
not how
because
many games
you
has he.
guys are treating him as if he's arrived and his game is complete. Like,
We're
wait
not saying his
until the
game is
game is
complete,
complete.
but we're just saying, look what. It's not how many games he has played. It's what he has done in those games. Like at times he was the second best player and the
Do
second
you
most
hear
consistent player.
yourself right now?
Yes, I do. Now the thing is,
I
we
just
are
have
having
to
fun.
ask because it doesn't sound like it.
It's just that
You
we
just
just
said
want.
that a man on a team with Anthony Davis and LeBron James was at times the second best
Hey,
player.
look, there was a period of time in the playoffs where Anthony Davis was taking even games off. He would do well 1, 3, 5, and 7, and then take 2, 4, 6 off.
But do you hear what you're saying?
Look, the people need to know, what do you have against the White Cobra?
I don't have anything against Austin Reaves. Again, I think he's a good player. I just would like for him to develop his game
I
more
said White Cobra.
completely.
I said the White Cobra.
Wait, what do you mean? I said Austin Reaves.
No, White Cobra.
Yeah, all right. REAVESanity is when you have a certain section of Lakers fans who will just not maintain a level of decorum, and then they exceed what would be considered like all rationality, like you just did. But it's totally cool because it's your fandom. Like, so if Austin Reaves were to hit me up and say, "Yo, what's your issue with me?" I'd tell him like, absolutely nothing. I think you're a good player. What I would like for you to see you do is develop, better defense one-on-one. I'd like to see you be able to actually man up in the post a little bit more because that's the position he's going to be put in, right? Like, you saw it a little bit last year. You just saw it today with Lithuania. Every team saw it. So, like, my problem with Austin Reaves isn't Austin Reaves, it's the fan. Like, let him develop. Like, I don't see how that's such a hard thing to do. The issue is you want to get something like emotionally attached. You want something to rev you up and get you excited. What you should be excited is for a healthy LeBron James and a healthy Anthony Davis with an improved Austin Reaves, with an improved Jackson Hayes, who can be a valued low-end pickup, right? That's what you should be excited about. Making this all Austin Reaves, it's Austin World, or whatever it is. Like, do you really think he likes that? Like, I mean, come on.
Well,
You
he's
don't think
him. He's
Ant
him.
Reed? Oh, please. Ant Edwards is looking at him every day in practice, laughing
Look,
because
he's
of
about
people
to.
who call him.
You realize that if the FIBA World Cup was over the course of 6 weeks instead of like 2, they're ready to elect him emperor.
So wait. Let me interject here for 1 second, because you said something interesting. Because we all saw the clip of Edward saying Austin's team. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
we saw it. But my question is, and this is a legit question, because again, I am example A. You can look at my timeline of just the Austin insanity, or whatever you want to call it.
REAVESanity.
REAVESanity. Yeah, there you go. So one question that I really do have. So by saying that Edwards is laughing at him, would you
He's not
consider?
laughing at him because of
I know.
anything he's doing.
No,
Yeah.
I know.
Cool.
But to a certain point, like, I've never seen a white boy say on national TV or saying like, I'm him. That's one. And two, to be repetitive about it. And three, to have the lens of basically a game go ahead basket, late game push, a winning play, consistently. Because, like, to be fair and to be honest,
I would tell you to go back and look at Dan Marley.
No, yeah, sure. But what I'm trying to get at is, it's not that he has a 50-point game. It's not like he has a 40-point game. He has like a 10 and 10, not 10, a 10 and 2 or a 10 and 3 game or less. Right. But it's the thing that he kind of just does the winning play or does like the simple basketball. Like he does the right play.
Yes.
We saw,
and I love that about him.
exactly. And
y'all are hyping him up for it.
The thing is, and this is my point.
You just admitted it.
I admitted it, but I
prefaced fundamental basketball.
One question: didn't I preface the fact that the dude is literally saying I'm him, and phrases to the Dallas. It's like I'm just saying.
Have you not watched Tyler Hero?
Oh no, Tyler Hero is a different animal.
Tyler Hero goes out there and says I'm him too. Hey,
there's a different level of. There's a different level.
Anderson. Chris Bird Anderson would flush on a putback and tell people I'm him. Like,
okay, now, wait, hold on. And I say this respectfully. There was a reason why Birdman was suspended.
No, I mean, I can go back in the history of the NBA and pull out white players from the 50s and 60s who talk trash. I can do it in the 70s and 80s. I can do it in the 90s and 2000s. Trash talking
he's a white
existed.
Look, he's a white boy with some swag. Now, this is my thing. Let me tell you
Jason
why
Williams also, by the way, would tell you he was him. After he put you on your butt.
So here's the thing with Jason Williams. Until he does his ancestry in me, until that's documented, I cannot believe he his roots all come from Europe. Yeah. Just shout out to that's a different beast. Okay, there's levels to this.
I'm just saying, I've now given you multiple examples. And the only thing that you two have said that is actually true is what Tony just said.
Okay.
He makes the winning basketball play.
So, Chris, let me ask you this. Austin Reaves and Trae Young, who's the better defender?
Oh, God, no.
That's actually a very interesting question because Trae Young is a better defender than what he's given credit for, but it's because his defensive responsibilities are different. One-on-one, if he's trying to guard you, like he's just diminutive compared to the average NBA physicality, right? However, when you look at him as playing the passing lanes and actually, trying to just move the ball away from where the player is trying to position himself, he's actually a very decent defender. Steph had the same problem, right? It took Steph about 4 or 5 years to get to league average. Guess what? Trae Young, 4 or 5 years, he's about at league average. Like, that's just kind of what it is. The difference between him and Austin Reaves is that Trae Young, for now, and maybe this changes, has a better basketball IQ, right? It's not a knock on Austin Reaves. He's got a high IQ. That's not, I'm not saying he's dumb. But there's prescience in the NBA. And Austin Reaves doesn't have that just yet because he doesn't have the requisite experience to say, I've seen this set multiple times. I know there's a 70% chance in the back of my head that pass is about to go, oh, there it is, and then shoot and get it, right? So Austin does a really good job of playing fundamental defense and doing what the coaching staff has him set up to do, to play within the system, right? Go watch Trae Young. Trae Young's told, if you see the pass in the lane, run, go, get it. That's it. And that's why it's kind of hard to compare them.
Yeah, it's different responsibilities.
Yeah, if you're going into it and you just walk into the gym, you're automatically going to assume Austin Reaves is a better defender. He's bigger, he's stronger. It's just that simple, right? But in the entirety of defense, they're probably closer than a lot of people think, but Trae is still probably slightly ahead.
Oh, okay, so even slightly ahead for a franchise player compared to a guy who at the beginning of last season, he was struggling to get minutes on the floor.
Bro.
Just saying. You just said that he hasn't played that many games.
Why are you making yourself sound worse on this? Like, you're not helping yourself here.
No.
Like, look, you're acting like you have to be a two-way player in the NBA to be a franchise player. No, I'm not saying.
Look. Here, first of all, comparing Trae Young.
You did that.
I compared Trae. I compared Trae Young. Look, this is the thing with Austin Reaves. to me, this is why we're having fun with this. Now, on a serious note, I have yet to see. I can't remember the last time. Now, most players, you'll see when they have taken jumps from year to year, and you can see, oh wow, they really worked on this during the offseason. One thing I appreciate about Austin Reaves is that from his trajectory from game one and you can even say game 83, because the Lakers did play a play-in game. I think he had one hell of a trajectory for him to, obviously we had a way different team with Westbrook and Pat Bev and all of that, Kendrick Nunn. He went from being a guy who was probably number 9 on the depth chart to, by the end of the season, he was a starting 2 guard. And you can say that when it came to being consistent and being reliable, I would probably put him at 3. I put him at number 3 on our squad, ahead of D'Angelo Russell. So that's me. Yeah, he's a white boy with swag. The NBA probably been wanting a white superstar, a white American superstar for a minute. We're having fun with it. It's just interesting that it's just like, even on the FIBA Cup, like, we've been pissing Atlanta Hawk fans off. I just tell people, I say, man, just interesting. Austin Reaves is scoring buckets on a team that Trae Young is been heard complaining that he didn't make.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So can I go to a different subject? Just a minor detour, Zen. Is that okay?
Of course, go ahead.
Yeah. So I've asked this question to other players, to other people. I've gotten 3 different responses, but I wanted to hear your response. What is Austin Reaves' ceiling, and is he close to it now?
Jeff Hornacek. And yes.
Okay. Yeah. And that is a different answer. I've heard Mano Ginobili, and I heard no. I've heard what was the other one that I heard? Pistol Pete, I think, was one.
Definitely not Pistol Pete.
Hey, I'm just, again.
Yeah, no, I'm just having fun with this one, because I've heard so many different comparisons for this young man, and I feel kind of bad. But if you just go back and you look at Jeff Hornacek and you look at his career trajectory versus Austin Reaves, you will be pleasantly surprised. Like, literally, you can do it right now. You can look up what the Paperboy put up, and you will be surprised. He put up 14 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 50% from the floor, 40 from 3. That's Austin Reaves right there, right now, isn't it?
That
was Hornacek's nickname.
Oh, okay.
It's Paperboy, or Horny, because of Hornacek. And then I think he was also called he had another one, I can't remember.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, stat wise, that seems to be
it's not even stat wise. Go look at Jeff Hornacek's shooting stroke. Go look at his fundamental play, right? Like, it is a style of basketball that Austin Reaves learned when he was growing up, that you don't necessarily see from top AAU players. It's that simple.
Yeah. That's a good point. But next game for Team USA is against Italy on Tuesday. So yeah, by the time you hear this drop, Team USA hopefully would have won against Italy.
If they lose, someone had to have been injured. Like, I just do not see any chance that Italy has in beating USA on Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. Real quick, just a very quick shout out to South Sudan. They earned their Olympic bid. Shout out to former Lakers Luol Deng and Wenyen Gabriel. Wenyen he's been killing it, and Luol Deng, he actually took over the South Sudan program, and even to the point where he's financing it out of his own pocket. I mean, a lot of it out of his own pocket. So shout out to them. Always good to see former Lakers.
I've got a
succeed.
FIBA shout out too. I want to shout out Japan. First win
Yes,
over a European opponent, and also first Olympic berth.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's no, Paris is it's gonna be fun in Paris next year. Some other
Your boy
news.
Rui looking good. You know what I'm saying? Rui
Yes,
looking good.
Rui, that's the Black Samurai. He's doing his thing. Um, hey, some other news that's we're gonna get to Trae Young in a second. We're gonna get back to Trae Young in a second because there was some rumblings regarding him. But hey, one thing that did happen this week, not to the Lakers, and I want to ask you guys if that was a mistake. JaVale McGee, he was he cleared waivers from the Dallas Mavericks on Wednesday, and the next day he signed with the Kings, with the Sacramento Kings. Tony, then we get to Chris. You think that was a mistake by us not to sign him?
No,
We are in need of a big man. You don't think so?
no. I mean, it's no.
It's no.
No. I have more. I actually like Jackson Hayes, and we kind of need a different skill set, to be totally honest. And I feel like what I saw in Dallas isn't what we need. But I don't know what the Lakers are going to do because we do need a center. We do need to fill that position. But yeah, JaVale wasn't never in my radar. It's yeah.
Neither mine. I was always, Tony, I've been leaning towards Biombo. I think he would be a better fit. I think he also adds a level of physicality that the Lakers need. So hopefully that's where that's the direction that we'll go in. Chris, how you feel about
I'm
the King signing McGee? And then do you
I'm
think the
I'm
Lakers made a
I'm
mistake?
actually on the mistake side here.
Okay. Yeah, please elaborate.
Um, it takes a specific type of player to play with LeBron James, and JaVale's been able to do that successfully twice. It's really difficult to change your game once you're at a certain space in your career, right? You see D'Lo having this problem right now. You saw it last year in real time, which is why it's leading you to say that Austin Reaves is better than him when he's not. But I digress. JaVale would give a sense of comfort and a better understanding of what role needed to be completed to best unlock Anthony Davis for LeBron James, right? So, like, if you get into a moment like you're playing Denver and you're going to need to run a two big lineup, he works because he allows AD to be pushed out to the four. He feels a little bit more comfortable, and you're going to get the understanding of where JaVale needs to be in the offense to set the screens for LeBron and D'Lo and Austin Reaves. So I think, like, if you're giving him to be your second big or third big, 10 to 15 minutes, yeah, I think the Lakers are going to find it difficult to find a big that was a better fit. It's not a lot
Tony?
out there. There's really not a
No,
lot
it's
out
not. Yeah, no, sorry. I it, full disclosure, I was actually because I just clicked the link of the Puerto Rican basketball and their loss to Italy, and I didn't know that. I didn't know it was that bad, and it's kind of cool that I didn't know. I'm just saying, but shout out to the team.
How bad was it, Tony?
I don't want to talk about it.
By the way,
Yeah,
you want to know what the best centers available are right now?
not good.
Bismack Biyombo, Serge Ibaka, Boban Marjanovic, and maybe Dwayne Dedmon.
Oh, Bojan.
Maybe Dwayne Damon. Oh my god, it's. But here's the thing. Like, I get your point, Chris, specifically with like the playing. Like, I get it. It's just, I don't know.
Y'all going to end up bringing Tristan Thompson back.
I think so. It's going to be Tristan Thompson. It's going to be Beyond.
Who would you rather have, JaVale McGee or Tristan Thompson? Be honest, Rebel.
Oh no, I would look. Here's the thing with JaVale McGee. Biombo was my preference since we've been needing to fill the spot. If JaVale and I had many conversations with Tony and other Laker fans, if we would have signed JaVale McGee, I would have been perfectly fine with it because once again, we're talking about it's not JaVale McGee that was splitting time with Dwight Howard in 2020. This is a JaVale McGee that, like you said, would 10, maybe 15 minutes a game. And even a lot of times, you'll probably see sometimes that he'll come into the game for 5 seconds just for a rebound, or it would be something situational. Also, true professional, like a true professional. He already won the title with the Lakers. So, and then if you also want to say that he could have a leadership role and be a calming voice in the locker room, I'm with it. So I was not against it. I would have been perfectly fine with it, and I was in the minority. So now, and then I'll even say this: the fact that he was unsigned for a day is very telling. That's guys were waiting on him. So um I prefer Biombo, but hey, I don't like that he's back in the same division.
Well, what the Lakers should do now is go after Usman Garuba, who was released by the Thunder.
Yep, it should.
That's what they
Why they
should do.
why they have it?
So
I don't know
we
what
have
they're up to. So they can only go one route. So it's like, what are you winning at? I don't know.
well, they are likely unable to do anything currently. They so teams value flexibility over everything with the new collective bargaining agreement. So, like, let's say you bring him in here, you're going to have to give up some of your potential future flexibility. And if you're not necessarily sure you're going to be able to invest the time it's going to take to, develop him at the pro level, then you're also taking a spot at the G League level. So if they already have a set of 3 or 4 guys at the G League that they really want to put their time and development towards, because maybe Castleton is your answer at center, then adding him would take away flexibility, take away resources to potential development of another player they might already be working on. And it's small things like this throughout the league that GMs and president of player personnel, they actually have a complete new office that was born out of like advanced metrics and a hybrid type of scouting thing, like Dr. Catherine Evans does it for the Wizards in DC. Like, all these teams do this every day. So like, it's not just the Lakers, but you have Minnesota, you have Miami. Like, every team is doing this. So what ends up happening is agents get word, teams get word, player might be released. We see JaVale McGee, likely the deal's already done, right? Prior to even the execution of the administrative function. And the only thing that stops that is another team putting it on waivers. But nobody wanted to pick up JaVale's contract, right? So if you do all that just to pick up Usman Garuba, like, it literally could freeze out any potential trades that they might have as early as Thanksgiving or Christmas. Maybe they want to be in a position where they can pick up a vet on a potential 3-team deal with Portland and Miami, or Philadelphia and Houston and the Clippers. But you don't know. All you do know is if you go get that one player right now, you won't have that potentiality. And that's really hard for fans to wrap their heads around and gauge, because that's not anything teams just going to come out and say through their PR or social department, right?
No, that's totally true. I try, like I've been trying since last season to view. Again, I do my I do my fair share of trolling, but I try to view it more as the business side. Like I'm intrigued. If anything, the NBA has a bewitching, like it's I'm really at when it comes to the CBA, when it comes to to really the nitty gritty stuff, like the behind the doors, like I'm curious and I want to learn more. But the one thing is like, and this is Lakers specific, but it's like they're hard capped. They only have a minor slot. It's not like they have this huge space to be like, oh, we can offer you. No, they technically can, and the only way they can do it is via trade, which is what you were alluding to. Maybe somebody falls out, they can be involved probably as the fourth team, which
Yeah.
is hard to figure out. But maybe they're in the receiving end of a player because that's the only way they can allocate currently.
Correct.
It's they don't have the cap space. So that is a good question. That is a good analysis, and I do agree that that could be the possibility. And also, like, in a macro sense of this, like, the roster's already done to a certain point. Like, you already have your
Also
main
correct.
guys. So it's like you're talking about the 14th and 15th guy. Like, it's how much playing time are you gonna allocate to them too? Like, it's not like this is gonna be the centerpiece for the 8-man rotation or 9-man rotation. You're just
No,
looking at depth.
what it is an insurance policy to Jackson Hayes not being able to develop. It's an insurance policy to avoid having to run Jared Vanderbilt at the 5. It's an insurance policy to having to bring back Tristan Thompson. Like, that's all it is. Which, by the way, if you're gonna bring back Tristan Thompson, you might as well brought back JaVale McGee, right? Like, so again, there's a
Correct.
trade there.
Yeah.
And it's just that fans cannot wrap their heads around it, and we live in a guttural, visceral existence as a fan, and you want your info now, right? Like, that's all this is. But in reality, Rob Pelinka has done a phenomenal job, and not only extending the window, but maybe even generating a complete transition from the LeBron playing era. Like, it is phenomenal when you really get into the weeds what he's been able to do. And I think part of the problem,
Do
though,
agree.
is that Lakers fans will put unrealistic and undue expectations on specific players to their detriment.
I have no
So,
idea what you're talking about.
No, no, we. Yeah.
yeah,
I have,
I'm sure you don't. Yeah, you
yeah.
have zero idea. Yeah,
Well, you know, speaking of unrealistic expectations, or maybe it is. Here's one hell of a transition. Want to go back to talking about Trae Young. A few days ago, you know, it's a couple of reports floating around on Twitter that Trae Young is someone that's on the Lakers' radar, and they chose to go with continuity this summer. But you know, what are your thoughts, Trae? You know, now I will like to add before I get back to you, Chris. Last time we saw Trae Young, he was at the crypto arena watching Austin Reaves play. Now, Chris, how do you like? You know, Trae Young on the Lakers. You is that something you see happening? Do you even think that's a good move?
Um, I never say never. The Lakers are always and will always be a star organization. Um, it is embedded in their fabric. Like Dr. Jerry Buss and Coach Pat Riley really ingrained that with Magic Johnson, right? Like, anytime you really think of the Lakers, you think of star players. Like, the idea of the baby Lakers was never gonna work. I remember that draft, and I was laughing up and down. Two reasons why I was laughing. Right, one, LeVar Ball. Two, the Los Angeles Lakers fans. Like, it was just phenomenal. Right, if Trae Young were to go to the Lakers, does that make them a destination for another superstar? That's the question that you need to actually answer if you want to talk about Trae Young to the Lakers. So when we look at Trae Young so far in his career in Atlanta, the only star that he was able to bring in was DeJounte Murray, and that was via trade. So we don't even really know if that necessarily was a recruitment, or was that, hey, this is probably the best situation that's available to me on the DJM side, right? So that's really the problem. No one really knows. Are there other players that say, man, I want to team up with Trae. If Trae hits me up and says, I'm going to LA and I want you to come with me, is he pulling a Brandon Ingram? Is he going to get another player to pull this off for the Lakers? Because you got to understand, you can't do this just bringing him in. You got to bring in that second dude. And that's the problem. Because I don't think Jaylen Brown wants to play, with Trae Young. I don't think Jason Tatum wants to play with Trae Young. This isn't anything against Trae Young. It's just that's not that type of style that they play. So you have to start going down the rosters in the NBA and say, man, who can Trae Young really team up with? Who does he have that relationship with? And I got to tell you, I don't see him in LA.
No,
I don't see a second major guy.
I don't see him. I don't see him in LA. I don't want him in LA. I got to even check if we won those games that he was in the arena when he came to watch Austin Reaves play.
Look, your anti Trae Young agenda, man.
No, this is the problem with. Okay, no, this is the problem that I have, and I'm gonna keep it real. Like I have been throughout this. So I just don't like that every single. I know there is. Look, I know behind the scenes you have agents and teams have relationships. It just seems that every single time there's a clutch client that is like, because we know Trae. There's been some reports of him being disgruntled. It seems like every single time there's a clutch player that could be moved or rumored to be moved, it's like, oh yeah, he's on the Lakers' radar. And I'm looking at Trae Young. It's like ridiculous. It's like we only deal with one agent throughout the NBA.
First, let's also not leave the untalked about part in the room, right? We're in the middle of the off season. It was the dead end of August, and there's a guy who is required to make a certain amount of engagement for a media organization that pays his paycheck.
Yes, that is true. That is very true.
Said individual, by the way, may receive a DM to just be part of, maybe a future podcast or.
Yeah, let's have a conversation.
Said individual. Said individual, yes, but we all know which individual we're talking about.
I'm not mad at it, right? But it's a very convenient tweet and a very convenient article. That's it.
This is I'm going to answer. This is why I don't. This is why I'm not a fan of Trae Young coming to my team. One, we have a coach that has a fetish for short point guards. So, no, we've seen that disaster. We do not want another short point guard. Also, Trae Young, he's a volume shooter. So when I'm thinking of, and not the most accurate, yes, he can hit from distance. Yes, when he gets into a zone, yes, Ice Trae, I'm with you. I saw what he did against my hometown team. I was born in the Bronx against the Knicks in the playoff series. I'm well aware, but I'm like, all right, he's not that. To me, I think he's below average defensively. He's also a volume shooter. He's going to come to this squad and be a second a second guy, or be a number 2 guy, maybe a number 3, depending on how we structure a team, to Anthony Davis. So it's like, okay, you're going to be a volume.
No. Anthony Davis wouldn't be a Laker if that were to happen.
Absolutely. So no, we got our franchise guy. I don't see. No, I don't want it.
Wait a minute. Are we just gonna ignore that? So Anthony Davis is not a Laker in that scenario.
Correct. 100%.
Being that he's under contract like 3 years, you're saying we're trading him for who? You would say.
Well, how are you going to get Trae Young?
Thank you.
No,
makes perfect sense. No, makes perfect sense.
Like the contracts line up, and then when you look at it, the projected timeline of Trae Young coming would actually coincide with both LeBron and AD. Yeah. Like just by the contract by himself.
We're not trading him. We're not trading Austin.
Probably would.
Okay. For salary purposes, yeah,
you probably would. So
well,
and by the way, what? I have to say, I think a lot of people really have Trae Young wrongly judged here. Um, he can, you can shoot a lot of shots, and it's volume because you're shooting a lot of shots. That doesn't necessarily make you a volume scorer. He's not out there being Klay Thompson. Okay, like I like Klay, but Klay's actually a volume scorer. It's all he does. He doesn't facilitate. He doesn't really rebound. He used to play elite defense. Now he does some
He
good and
used to.
sometimes not good. But he's a volume shooter because he's someone you have to scheme to get 18 to 20 shots per game.
Very true. Very,
So
you're
like
right about that.
when you look at it like that, then Trae isn't a volume shooter. He's a volume facilitator because all his facilitation comes off of the shot.
Yeah.
Right? So he uses the shots to manipulate and warp the defense to open up better passing lanes. And he's probably a top 5 passer in the league, and a lot of people just don't like him. Like,
Hey,
seriously.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. And real quick before we move on, I want to give a shout out to LeVar Ball. Hopefully, you know what, sooner than later, I'm sure he'll be a guest on our podcast. I don't know if you guys seen his new shoes that he just there was a picture of him today as before we were recording this. He has some new shoes came out. Let me tell you what it looks like. And I'm not making fun of it because I'm actually intrigued. Just imagine if you got the Crocs, right? You know, Croc shoes. Imagine if a Crocs and a onion slicer had a baby. That's what the shoes would look like. And I'm looking at it and I'm just like, those look comfortable. So just saying, hey, shout out to LeVar Ball, big baller brand, King of Chino Hills. Um, you know, now he also makes good pancakes. Chris,
That
just
should tell you something, right?
that's well, you know what? You
That
know,
really should tell you something.
hey, you know, we'll let the listeners decide what it's telling us. But you know what? Look, this is episode 9 of the podcast of Meeting of the Gold Mines, and I remember, you know, Chris is someone that we've always has always been gracious to us and always shared knowledge, always gave us his time. And I remember for episode 5, if you know listeners remember and go back in our archives to check it out. Um, episode 5, we called it hashtag 5 and it's over, and it was you know the conversation was who needs the fifth ring more between Steph Curry and LeBron James. And the reason why I brought that up is because the first person I reached out to was Chris, and he was like, "Nah, not the best conversation. They don't need the 5 rings. The legacy is already cemented." And the cool thing about that, and I definitely it was a blessing in disguise. It it was just like, okay, it challenged us to say, okay, let's what would be a worthwhile conversation with Chris. And I said, well, shit, we're both, you know, in the business of, you know, we're both fans of the league. We're both fans of, you know, the NBA basketball. And we both took our fandom, or we all took our fandom, Tony and as well the rest of the PGM team, just like Chris, who has Hoop Spaces, which I feel Hoop Spaces is pioneering, and a lot of folks, if folks are smart, they're looking at Hoop Spaces as like really, you know, the pioneer in this fan created, especially with NBA Twitter, fan created, you know, platforms. And so it's like, hey, you know what? Let's talk about what we do, why we do it, how we're doing it, and the importance of what we're doing. Um, and when you know, reached back out to Chris, and he said, yeah, let's have this conversation. So, because I think you know, there's a lot of folks that have these platforms, Chris. Um, unlike yourself, unlike what we're doing with PGM, um, they don't really necessarily treat it as a business and really see the importance of it. You know, I know you get this all the time, but I get a lot of folks. We get a lot of folks that hit us up all the time, say, man, I love listening to you guys. You guys are just like, it's unbiased. It's you guys just keeping it real. It's not influenced by, by whatever third party or outside, influences. So, Chris, I wanted to ask you, right? Because we're gonna get into the platform, uh, and the fan created, fan driven platforms, but let's talk about hoops for a second. Like, what's your earliest memory of the game of basketball or the NBA?
The earliest memory I have of the game of basketball is the Boston Celtics versus Detroit Pistons game 1987. I was 5 years old. I was spending the holidays with my grandmother. She had moved in. She had gotten in a car accident and moved in so that because she had to do rehab, she wasn't going to be able to live by herself for until rehab was over. And I couldn't sleep. My parents were out, and I kept, coming downstairs. And people have to remember that the NBA at this time it wasn't really televised the way it is today. Like it was really tape delay. So we also rented a VCR because you had to rent VCRs back then.
Oh, wow.
Yes, wow.
Don't age yourself.
Yeah. So she recorded the recorded tape delay, right? And so like I'm watching a game that she couldn't watch that was 2 weeks old, but it was the first game that I've ever watched. And then in terms of playing basketball, I actually didn't even play basketball until I was a teenager. I actually taught myself how to playing against grown men. My dad was in the military. He was a first sergeant, and I would go to the gym with him on base. So I'd be playing with 20 to 35-year-old soldiers as a 12 or 13-year-old. And I learned that because where we moved to at the time, there wasn't any baseball fields. And I grew up playing baseball. Like I was a second baseman, a shortstop, and a pitcher. Like I played baseball almost every day until 12 years old. So the only avenue to play sports in my neighborhood was either pick up, football. No, not big football. I mean, I was a fan for a while, but I've moved off of it. Or basketball. And I remember the very first time I tried to play, I was really made fun of viciously. Like it was bad. And I used that to make myself, into a decent player. By the time, I graduated high school, like I was playing with the regular varsity team. Like I've been able to grow and understand basketball from a wide angle of passions. Like the military is a melting pot, even more so than the country. So like when I was growing up, also learning, I was learning about the history of every team because every person has their favorite team, right? Who doesn't want to talk about their favorite team? Going back to what you were saying in terms of the platform. So like even back then, my first exposure in playing the game of basketball and learning about the passion of basketball really was nothing more than the beginning steps of a journey that now is producing content, right? Like so what I found is looking back at my life, basketball had been there twice in childhood um, at influential times. Once when I was 5, when I first saw it for the first time, right? Never really understood, never knew that basketball was that type of sport, right? And then again when I was a teenager. Then the major part came after the military, the United States Army retired me because they said that I had done enough and I could no longer serve. They gave me a flag and a plaque and an award and shook my hand and told me to go home. And I had a very difficult time adjusting into civilian life. I'm a combat vet, um, and I remember vividly sitting on my father's recliner, not being able to sleep, feeling extremely depressed, and I was watching actually the Lakers and the Kings. and and it was the first time that I could connect to something uh, from my past in an emotional way, right? And that kind of allowed me to learn how to rediscover passion, which is an extremely important part for any vet who's a combat vet and deals with post traumatic stress disorder as well as some other mental health issues. Is the loss and ability to feel an emotive connection, and that was really, I think, the very beginning of my personal healing time, right? And it's taken years really to even get to like where I am now. But like as I sit here, I am very gracious to the game of basketball. And I don't need to be a professional player to have this graciousness. I don't need to be a coach. All I need to be is a fan because the game itself has impacted my life so much in a positive way.
You know, man, that was dope. For me, there's a reason why I asked you that question because, a lot of times, you know, people forget and, you know, that we love this game. That this is something that we genuinely love and it's emotional. Sometimes you could even say that, well, I'm 36 years old. Um, I could say that shit. Outside of the one with my parents, my relationship with the game of basketball is probably my longest one. Yeah, and then from that relationship, because you love it so much, you have passion for it. You're going to find a way for it to be part of your life. And you're going to nurture that relationship like any good relationship. And for me, when it comes to my first introduction to basketball, it was actually game 6 of 93 finals. So I had to be 6 years old. Jordan, end of the fourth quarter, Jordan passed to Paxson. We know the deal. Um, but then when I start really getting into it, you know, my pops, my pops is from Jamaica. He came here in 19. He came from Jamaica to the U.S. to the states. Um, yeah, he came to the states in 1972, and when he came to the states, first person he saw at the airport, and he was wondering why there was a crowd around him. It was Willis Reed. Then he saw him on TV, and that's how he fell in love. So the Knicks has always been a team that um, I've loved. And my first real memory when I fell in love with the game of basketball in the NBA was 94 finals. You know, my dad was rooting. My dad was rooting for the Knicks. Also, is a big deal. Patrick Ewing from Jamaica. Just like gotta win. Ultimately, lost to the Rockets. Dream was on a different level. Lost in 7. Plus, special love and shout out to John Starks for what he did in that fourth quarter. But that's how I fell in love with the game of basketball. What I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about the evolving landscape between mainstream media, then you have player media, driven created media like Draymond Green, he called it new media. You have Paul George has his podcast. How do you feel about the landscape that's evolving between the fan driven media, player media, mainstream media?
Um, there's definitely friction. Um, when I remember when I started, like I actually and I still do from time to time, get called a plant because that there's an idea of the inability to be independent, and I think that's really where a large crux of the problem is because when we look at mainstream media, like they aren't independent. Like if you are a journalist and you are getting a paycheck by an entity, your independence is tied directly to the dependency of the paycheck. You lose your independence. That doesn't necessarily mean that you are a shill, right? It just means that you no longer have the freedom to really say exactly what you want all the time. And then that creates a problem because they have all the access. So they have the access, but in order to get said access, they then have to be dependent upon the team and the player. So now you are dependent on the organization that pays your paycheck. And now you're also dependent upon the player and the organization. That has always been how the power structure has been from Showtime era on up, right? And really the Lakers and the Cowboys and the Yankees, like these are professional teams that are really the root causes of this, right? The popular, successful teams because they bogart access, right? You got to be credentialed, but then they only give the credentials to the people who are going to tell the positive and only the good. And so we had that structure for 20 years. And then an amazing thing happened. It was called the internet. And back when we had dial-up internet, an amazing thing happened. Somebody created a room where you could go in there and type words. And then that was actually the beginning of what we're seeing today. The moment that happened, where you could go into a forum that's open to anybody and everybody to share your passion, your data, your information, it created a problem for any mainstream media, whether it's sports, whether it's news, whether it's weather, whether it's entertainment. So when you fast forward the 20 years and now we're into 2000s, you have a modernization of the game of the NBA basketball. And it wasn't just on the court. It was business-wise. It was off the court. David Stern completely changed what the business trajectory was from the 80s model and the 90s model into a new progressive forward-thinking model. That's how they sold it. And media had to go along with it, but the problem was that they didn't bring the fans per se. They actually then restricted more access during the pandemic. When you have your fan base locked in at home with nowhere to go, and that's when, the explosion of fan-created content happened. But the honest truth is fan-created content has existed since fans have existed.
So what was the motivation behind Hoop Spaces?
So the motivation behind it started with the tennis conversation. Naomi Osaka withdrew from the French Open, and I held a room on an app called Clubhouse. As someone who I am very, very pro mental health, I also understand, though not being an elite athlete, I understand the amount of time and the amount of energy that goes into training through my military experience. Like, I understand the feeling of seclusion and isolation that athletes feel as they feel constantly paraded around and denigrated online every day. Can't escape it, right? So like, I wanted to create a place where fans didn't feel that way. And the thought was, if you could create a place where fans didn't feel that way, fans wouldn't actually act that way. And once fans wouldn't act that way, they would actually either rekindle their passion for the sport, maybe tone down some of the aggressive social media usage, maybe treat players with, better respect that these players do deserve, because it would allow them to understand the time and energy and effort that these players actually put in through the vehicle of them creating their own content. So, like, this is episode 9, but just think about all the amount of work that you've had to put in just to get to episode 9. right?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And
And it
Tony,
builds.
yeah, Tony used to have a fro before we started the podcast.
I
And
know it was glorious, man.
it was,
I think I saw a picture. It was Bob Ross-esque, right? Like,
yes, absolutely.
yeah,
You, you
painting
know,
little trees, happy clouds, man.
yes, absolutely. And maybe a silhouette of Austin Reaves in the clouds. But
See, there you go.
you
There
know,
you
it's
go.
it's funny that you say it's interesting that you just said that about how we speak about players. Now, I have done some trolling, and I had a learning experience. I remember I made a comment about a former Laker, a player that was on the squad last season, and he got traded midseason. And you're a mute.
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, okay. And someone that was in his camp kind of like hit me with like DM me and say, "Yo, really?" And I was just like you said that, and he ended up being a guest on our podcast, and we spoke about it. And I remember from that moment, it was like, okay, you know what? I do recognize. Not saying I'm going to censor myself, but I remember thinking that, oh shit, you know what? As we build these platforms, there's a responsibility that comes with it, where I have to be consistent, but I also have to be mindful of my words. I can't. This is, we're not doing a shock jock thing, and that's something that I've been very mindful of, and always like it always stands out to me that this is not a reckless thing that we're doing. There's a lot of thought, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And one thing I appreciate about what we're doing and what you're doing with Hoop Spaces, Chris, is that there's no long we're not dealing with the gatekeepers anymore, because for the longest time, because of the lack of technology, if you weren't a journalist, then you weren't media. And then remember, the old journalists would used to dismiss the players. But now what's really funny is now the players are dismissing the fan driven content because they're like, oh well, you never played, you're kind of just a fan. So I find that the fan driven content creators are, it almost feels like the players in a lot of ways are kind of like trying to gatekeep, and there's sometimes a dismissiveness in like the knowledge that a fan will have, because I can say with all sincerity, I have watched over 10,000 hours of basketball and analyzed the game, and if I'm want to look at additional content
The
basketball
the
related.
Malcolm Gladwell argument.
Exactly.
Players laugh at that, by the way.
Players laugh at it. Players
Yeah,
laugh at it, but it was just like,
yeah.
okay, I've
No, they
watched so
should.
much of the game.
They should. I
Yeah, they should.
because I actually I am on the player side in this.
You do.
Which is it sounds absolutely hilariously crazy considering what I
Right.
do, right?
Okay,
However,
please explain that.
let me proffer a question. What's the largest amount of people you've ever had watch you at any one given moment?
What I think I had we had a space, and we had a space at one point that had what, close to 900 people. So, and that's
You're talking about real life, or you're talking about like
Well,
digital?
that is real life.
Well,
yes,
you know
Yeah.
what I mean. Like
No, the spaces count. Spaces,
yeah.
real
spaces.
life,
Okay.
all
So
of that counts.
we had a space on a
What's the
we had a
number?
space
What's the
we had a
highest number?
we had 900 people in a space on a,
All
I
right.
think it was a Saturday or
Some
Sunday
of these
morning.
dudes have 90 million.
Yes, very
Mhm.
true.
All right. How many of those 900 people said a negative thing about the space or about you?
Oh, I would say probably a third at least.
So this dude has 30 million.
Yeah,
And by the way, that's just this country.
that's true.
So like it's not bogarting access. It is a natural reaction to the small number of fans who are assholes. And there's a statement, and it's a truism. It's in every culture. It does not matter where you were born on this planet. You attract more flies with honey.
Yeah.
So why would a player want to go into a space where it is as sour as vinegar? Now, some players, they don't mind the toxicity. They thrive on it. We understand this. They're people too.
We
But
saw
just
Kevin
ask yourself.
Durant. We saw Kevin Durant hop into a space.
Yeah.
What about 2 months ago?
Oh, I mean, I've seen him. I seen it. I saw it 2 years ago. Like, players are on spaces. They are in their burners. They listen. They talk to each other. But they also know who's really pro player. And the issue is you have a lot of the fan creators who will say they're pro player, but they're stands. Or they'll say they're pro team, but they're stands. You can't be a pro player and a pro team if you're a stand, because you can't view the game objectively. You can't be unbiased and show equal respect to every player. And like that's what the players are fighting back against. And when you look at it in that, there's another saying: it only takes one bad apple to ruin a bunch.
Very
And once the
true.
bunch is ruined, the bunch is ruined. And you know what you do with the bunch? You toss it out. You get another one.
So I want to ask you, because that is something that comes up a lot, especially on Twitter and fan-driven content. The GOAT debate, the standing for a particular player. Now, I can tell you with sincerity, as much as we've been having fun with Austin Reaves, about Austin Reaves, we're having fun. Yes, we can bring up some stats and we're rooting for him and he's a fan favorite for the Lakers, but we also know that we're having fun. Let me ask you, as a person that you have conversations with people um, on your platform, how do you look at the whole stand culture?
Oh, I try very hard not to police a person's fandom. I don't necessarily think standom is fandom. I think there's a stark difference between the two. A fan is somebody who's emotionally invested and impacted by the outcome of the game and production of players and teams, right? Like that's a basic definition we can agree to. A stan is somebody who cannot regulate their behavior over a specific subject. Like that's the difference.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I'm not saying names, but look, there's a couple of there's a LeBron stan in particular that he speaks about LeBron on Twitter every day, but when he talks about Jordan, it's gotten to a point where it's ugly and it's personal, even to the point about why he retired in the first time. And it's just like, man, do you even love the game of basketball? I think the stand thing is just ugly, it's toxic. And even the GOAT debate, I don't engage in GOAT debates anymore. Like to me, it's not fun. It's dismissive to the cult
You
to the
you
game of
can you can
basketball.
have it, but you have to have it in an environment and in a structure that is not confrontational or competitive.
And Twitter's not that place for a GOAT debate.
Pretty much.
Not at all. Not at all. But you know what? And we're about to we're about to wrap up this conversation with you. I want to ask two more questions for you. One, first question: what do you think is the future of fan? Because we have our documentary that we're releasing November 7th, and the trailer is out now. We spoke about it earlier. I look at this as endless potential, but what do you see as the future of fan created sports platforms?
Platforms or content, because like that's really
Both.
yeah, because I think sometimes we use the term platform a little loosely. Um, and I think sometimes we should just use the word vehicle, but I don't think enough people are really understanding of what's meant by that. So, like, a platform is a position of value. What value you bring is the platform. So, not necessarily even content is a platform. It's content. The platform could be entertainment because the values entertainment, right? So as long as it stays within that frame, there will always be fan created content. And, if it's good, they'll stop being fans and start being professional creators. Once you cross that Rubicon, it's a different ball game, right? And I think part of the problem is people anticipate it being the same, so they don't do the requisite work to build themselves properly. So they end up losing all of their momentum, and they eventually deplatform themselves and just simply go back to becoming what I would call free for play content creators. So really, it's about what level you get at as a fan creator, because there are no professional fan creators.
Wow, that man dropping some dimes here. That is dope, man. That is dope. That's a great way to end this conversation. One of the things we ask every single last question we ask every single guest of our podcast is, what are we watching? So we're in the off season. We're also, Hollywood is in the midst of two strikes with the writers and the actors. Um, what are you watching besides the game? There's no basketball on outside of FIBA. What are you watching? TV, streaming, movies? What are you watching, Chris?
Bro, I don't watch a lot of TV or movies. Um, I do a lot of reading.
What are you reading?
Right now, ha, right now, I was reading a white paper, which is a research paper for those who
Right,
don't
right.
know,
Yeah.
on the Mars helicopter. So Ingenuity, right? They have a small little helicopter. It was only supposed to actually run for X amount of times. Like the mission parameters was like from date to date. It just made its 56th launch, flight, and land on Mars, right?
Wow.
And they have actually now tied it with the Curiosity rover. So essentially, it is now a tandem discovery team. Helicopter flies up and gives some advanced scouting. It's not a long operational flight because it's solar powered. I also read about the impact of a celestial body on Jupiter. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen, you can Google it. That thing was probably large enough to do some like severe heavy damage to this planet, right? So like I've been reading that, and I actually watched the video clip because it was captured by an astronomy team in Japan. And then I've been reading about Voyager 2. It tilted its axis, pushing its antenna away. It's outside the Oort cloud, which is the furthest from our natural solar system. And they were able to jury rig a workaround to put the antenna back into a better position. So there was that. Semiconductor LK99, a whole bunch of other science stuff. Bro. Like it is literally nonstop science, from AI to space. And then, of course, unfortunately, we do have a former um, political famous person in the news literally every other day, so you can't avoid that with the upcoming trials. So like I'm a nerd. I During the
Yes.
off season, I'm not even really putting on anything in the movies. I'm reading everything that I can on science, climate change, space, and politics. I'm real.
Oh, so you're a political buff as well.
Yeah, yeah, and comedy because I used to write and do stand up. So
Oh man, we we share we have a lot of similarities. Look, I 90% of the time I'm watching TV. If I'm not watching sports, I'm watching the news. Um yeah, I'm watching the news. So Yeah. So but you know what? But look, Chris, so much. Thank you so much for rocking with us. And you know what? We will see you again in the future, man. And talk to you soon, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it, Rebel and Tony. And look, I'm expecting big things. All right. This year, I want you to go ahead and pencil it in that you are going to do big things. Like you need to understand that this is a long game. All
Yeah.
right. Drink water, chop wood, and carry on.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely, brother. Hey, this is Chris. Um you can follow him at Hoop Spaces. Also, tune into his show, Hoop Spaces on AMP. Entertaining, funny, great music, and the food takes. The
Or
food takes
immaculate.
are yeah. They're interesting. They're interesting,
No, they're
and
immaculate. I use
you
the correct
know,
adjective. It's immaculate.
and
You gotta go with the flow, man. It's
yeah,
immaculate.
and hey, you know what? Maybe we can have you again at some point because we really got to get into your beef with Michael Jackson. But hey, but brother, we'll definitely be talking soon, man.
Absolutely. Hope you have a great rest of Labor Day weekend. For all your listeners, make sure you check out this documentary. Like it's gonna be something you're gonna want to spend the time to check it out. And to Tony, had no idea you got your own Funko Pop, man. That is dope. That is big. I'm happy for you. I
Thank
gotta
you.
hear the story one day.
One day for sure.
Absolutely. All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, peace out.
Peace. Well, that was a great conversation with Chris from Hoop Spaces.
Really was.
Classy
Really was.
brother. Classy brother. Tony, Mr. Poppy
Yeah.
Chulo, what are you watching, man?
I've been watching The Lioness in Paramount. Great show. A little bit different, a little bit um you know those shows that goes like um they show you the future and then they go back in time and kind of like they recant like the past year or so or something
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah.
It's that type of style. I'm really not a fan of it, but the show's pretty good to keep me engaged. So yeah, I'm watching that and what else? That's about it. I actually have on my watch list to watch One Piece because Netflix decided to put One Piece live action. So let's see how
Okay,
that
so
goes.
KB, our brother KB, who is not here, he mentioned One Piece earlier. Never heard of it. Don't know what it is. What is One Piece, and why should I watch it?
Oh boy. In a nutshell, in probably less than a minute, it's based on a kid who wants to be a pirate king or the king of the pirates. Basically, he wants to find the treasure of Gold Rogers, and to get it in that world, he has to eat. Well, he there's certain people that can eat a fruit, or they can find this treasure, or whatever you want to call it, fruit. It's like this devil fruit, which gives you powers, and his power is the gum gum fruit, the gum Nama Nama or Gunma or whatever. It's like rubber. He is like rubber, and all the properties associated
Sounds like a
with rubber.
ripoff of Popeye. Popeye ate the
Wow.
spinach, got strong.
Yeah, yeah, kind. Not really. There's a lot of side characters, but the main topic is he wants to be Pirate King. How did he
Oh,
goes through it? I don't know how the movie addresses it. I have no idea because the manga is shit you not 1,000 plus. It's almost reaching 2,000 at this point. Like it's ridiculous. It's like the joke is it's never ending. So how do they make it in a movie? I have no idea. So
mm.
yeah, it's gonna be
Uh,
interesting
okay.
because
Well,
supposedly it's good. Supposedly it's good. So
oh, all right. Well, I just been watching Money Heist on Netflix, and they have a spin-off. So the story takes place in Spain. It is about a money heist. It's a dope story. Now, uh it was originally recorded in Spanish.
yeah,
So
I'm well
the
aware of what it is,
yeah,
but
so the English the English dub, you can like I could never watch it with you because the translation, I'm sure, just fucking sucks. It took me about
It's
2 episodes to like really get used to this.
do you want to know what's funny though?
Go ahead.
I watched it in dub because I couldn't stand because it's actually it's recorded I think in Portugal or Spain.
Yeah, Spain.
And
Yeah.
it's and I can't stand it. Like I great storyline. And by the way, do you want to guess what's the original title? Because you're talking about like
Is it the house? Is it House of Money?
it's called La Casa de Papel.
Yes. So okay, what does that
So
translate to?
it's basically the House of Paper.
Yeah. Okay, House of Paper. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you understand like from Money Heist to House of Paper, like Jesus Christ. It's a good story. It's I still haven't watched the last season, but
Oh
it's
man, you gotta
yeah.
watch the last season.
I'm just
You gotta watch the
I'm
last
bad
season.
at that. Like I kind of go to the point and I'm like, oh, it ends. I can wait. Like I do
Oh
that
man,
too much, man. I've noticed
I
that that's a
hate.
yeah.
Man, look, I hate it. Um, I hate that. If I'm watching a show, I'm gonna finish it. Fuck all that other shit.
Do you know what I
Um,
blame?
what?
Do you know which show I blame for that? To be totally honest, Lost. I blame that shit on Lost.
I've never seen one scene of that show.
Yo, no, I'm being totally honest. Like Lost is it's a great show in my opinion. Like you can watch it right now because I
Hmm.
think it's more than a decade. You can watch it now
Okay.
and it's pretty entertaining. It's I don't know 10 seasons of it. Like it's good for binging. But man, that last season was probably the worst I've ever seen a storyline conclude. And
Wow.
that's the problem. Like if you watch the end, I know it's an ending, but then Game of Thrones did that shit too, and I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like it's just when you see the last season, it's like the writers just decide like, oh let's just finish the shit, you know, and they kind of ruined the whole like think about it this way: it's a buildup. You have this buildup. It's like oh wow, there's a great painting and then in the end, it's like I take primer and th- just throw it on top of it. It's like it's ruined.
It's
So
ruined. Well,
yeah,
let's see. Like I said, just finished watching Money Heist. I'm trying to figure. I'm Lioness. I didn't realize that Taylor Sheridan. So Taylor, I got. I'm sure you heard. I got KB hooked on Yellowstone. So this it's the same creator from Yellowstone, and he also has Mayor Kingstown on Paramount Plus. He also has Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. So he's been on a creative role. I'm a huge fan of his. The Yellowstone, it already has 2 spin-offs that are phenomenal. So when I found out when KB was like, "Oh yeah, it's the same guy from Yellowstone," I'm like, "Oh shit!" So I added that to my watch list. I think the next show I'm probably gonna watch, just because there's so few episodes, is the Citadel. It's like a espionage CIA show. I think what they spent over 200 million on it. It's the Russo brothers who directed it, guys from Avengers Endgame, and probably one of my top 3 favorite superhero movies ever, Winter Soldier. I
okay.
like that espionage shit. So, what? See you making a face. You not a fan of it?
I watched it. Yeah, no, it's not a good. It's
No.
not serious. It's not. Here's the thing. You said which is your favorite? Which is your
Winter
favorite?
Soldier.
Exactly. Chef Kiss, right?
Yes, yes.
From a chef doo doo.
Chef
That is.
Doodoo.
Yep. Yep.
Ah,
That's the inverse. Like you're going to the multiverse, and that's just a different shit show. Like I am actually a fan of the act because it's the same actor, right? It's the one that does oh god. the name of the dude that does that has the arm?
Oh, wait,
Um,
hold on. Sebastian something.
yes. So it's the same. It's the same character. The director.
Sebastian Stan.
Like when you look at the cast, it's supposed to be epic. It's really supposed to be epic. And here's the thing: give it the benefit of the doubt. Watch it. I just feel like it's again same shit. It's poor writing. Like way. And anyway, I'm not gonna. Yeah, whatever.
Huh. All right. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm gonna look. There's so many shows on my watch list. I'm gonna see what's next. I'm glad I finally got Money Heist out the way. I'm probably gonna take a little bit of time to because they're actually gonna have a spin-off of Money Heist of from the
Yes.
yes that's coming out. They have a first spin-off, but it's like taking place in Korea. I don't think there's any connection, but this is gonna the one that's coming out in December is a true spin-off. So I'm gonna figure out what's next on my watch list. And yeah, man. But look, this is number 9, episode 9, meeting of the gold mines. We got a lot of things going on. I think by the time about time you listen to number 10 or number 10 is released, we're gonna have merchandise coming out, and I will just give you a heads up. It's gonna piss some people off. But hey, that's what we do. We entertain the buffoonery. You guys know our motto. We do things differently. Um, this is Born Rebel, aka Zen. That's my brother Tony, the Ball Mojito. And we are out. Thank you for listening. We will catch you very soon. Peace.